Hey, it's Coach Jamila, and I want us to go live really quick to talk to you about a topic that I have coached several women around, and that is a fear of being alone. And many of them kind of have the attitude, hey, you're better than nobody, right? And so the problem with that is when you have a fear of being alone, typically you have a low bar or no bar when it comes to being in a romantic relationship or even a friendship with you. And you often find that you get taken advantage of, as a result. Another aspect of having a fear of being alone is you actually could be the type of person who's manipulative of others in the sense that you're playing pitiful or needy so that they will take care of you and stick around. You tend to use guilt trips, to keep people present in your life. And so that can be an aspect, of this fear of being alone. It doesn't apply to everyone who struggles with this, but that can be a part of it. Now, one of the biggest ways that you can recognize that this is your struggle is you tend to find yourself making excuses or compromises for the individuals that you've allowed into your life who are currently in the process of mistreating or taking advantage of you. And so, the real reason behind this fear, why it is that you don't want to be alone, is because you don't want to be alone with the one person you don't know, you can't stand, kind of freaks you out a little bit, and that's actually you. When you have a fear of being alone, it's because you just really don't want to be by yourself, with yourself and your own thoughts. So it really is a fear that comes from the inside out and does have a lot to do with how you feel about yourself, okay? Now, the issue is when you have this fear of being alone, you're looking outside of yourself for someone else to validate you and to make you feel good about yourself. I was coaching someone and, she expressed that, she felt like, oh, well, when I meet the right man, then I'll be happy, or then this will happen. And what I had to really work with her on was the fact that, listen, the right man could come along all day long, but he cannot make you become the woman that you want and need to become. He can't do that. You have to do that. It comes from the inside out. And so even if a great guy did come along, all these games and things that you play, you'd be bringing all that into this new relationship, and he won't stick, and he's not going to stick around for that. So it's not anybody else's job to make us feel good about being us or about, being in our own skin. And so when you have this fear of being alone, you have to acknowledge and recognize that the feeling that you're looking for, that feeling of happiness and contentment, if you're relying on another person outside of you to give it to you, well, then you're always going to be all over the place because you're relying on others to give you something that really it's you that has 100% control over it, okay? Now, when you do this, when you look outside of yourself, what you're really doing is you're giving your power away, and you're giving other people the power to control your thoughts and emotions. Because when you're like this and you have this fear of being alone and you've attached yourself to people who are taking advantage of you, who are mistreating you, then you're dealing with behaviors, treatment that doesn't serve you. And so they can say things and do things to you that actually make you feel worse, about yourself. And so, that's not something that you are looking for, but it's something that you attract because, again, that bar is so low. You're just happy to have anybody, be around you. And the problem is it's a vicious cycle, but it can stop. And it only stops when you decide that you're ready to stop settling for these mediocre relationships and are ready to set a standard and raise the bar on who it is that you're going to allow to come into your life. Now, once you're ready to change, once you're ready to really get honest with yourself, okay, and that means you got to get real, so then therefore you can heal. I've got 3 tips for you once you're ready to change, once you're ready to overcome this fear of being alone, okay? So the first one is you have to be ready to take a look at the thoughts and feelings that you have been running from and looking for distractions in other people and relationships. So when you're constantly looking outside yourself for someone to make you feel good, you're looking for a distraction, someone to keep you from thinking about whatever it is that's rolling around in here, or to keep you from feeling whatever it is that's going around in here. For example, let's say you're going through an unwanted divorce, or you've been through one, whatever. I'm a transformation life coach. I serve women who are focused, determined go-getters who struggle with feelings of, unworthiness or being unlovable. And I do have a special focus or emphasis on women who've been through an unwanted divorce. And so that's why I'm going to use this example. And so when you're going through a divorce, it's a very painful time. And when it's unwanted, that means that you're the one that's being rejected. And so when you're hurting, when you feel rejected, you can just simply want to feel good. And you therefore could find yourself vulnerable or wanting to get into another relationship just so that you can have those feel good feelings and attention, from another man to kind of make you feel good about yourself. And the problem with that is that it still doesn't change what's really going on inside and what really needs to heal and what you really are going to have to face. And that is, you do have to face the fact that you are alone and you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Nobody says you have to stay alone. But if you are alone, you can be alone and be okay and find contentment within yourself. In fact, you want to find happiness and contentment within yourself alone before you move forward and get into a relationship with someone else, because you can have all the standards in the world for what you want, but what are you bringing to the table, okay? And so that's what you can really take the time to focus on and work on when you really learn how to be content and okay alone for at least some period of time, so that you can do the inner work that needs to take place. Now, the second point is, it kind of rolls right into this, is you have to be willing to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet and be alone for a while, like I said, while you adjust your thinking and way of being and break this pattern. See, when you're trying to break a pattern, you can't be rolling into another relationship, because that relationship was attracted to you based on your pattern. So now it's hard to change when you're wrangling around with your old stuff, right? So you are going to have to be alone to work on, like I said, those thoughts and feelings, and break this pattern of neediness and this fear of being alone as if somehow you can't make it. You're going to have to be alone for a minute and work on yourself. And then the third tip is, you have to be willing, and this is the hard one, you have to be willing to give up the stories and the manipulation that you use to keep others around you. No more selfishness. You cannot be selfish. Hey, hey, Pat. So you have to be willing to give up those stories, okay? Because that's 90% of what we do, is we tell ourselves things and we believe it to be true, and therefore it is. And so if we want people to feel sorry for us because we think, okay, if I am pitiful and needy, I can manipulate. And see, you may not even be using that word manipulate because you don't really recognize what you're doing, but it is manipulation, okay? And you're doing it to get them to pay attention to you, to give you their time, their energy, attention, because, oh my goodness, what would happen if you actually just asked for it? They might give it to you. Or perhaps because they're not individuals that you really ought to have in your life in the first place, is why you have to play these games to get what you need from them. Whereas if you pause, take a minute, focus and work on yourself, heal those feelings, and then start seeking out and attracting individuals into your life where the relationships are mutually beneficial and reciprocal, and you're being uplifted and encouraged, and then you are getting your needs met. Then you are getting someone's time and energy and attention because they want to give it to you, not because you had to manipulate them into it, not because you had to beg them for it, not because you have these deep-seated feelings of neediness or whatever. And isn't that the best way to be in a relationship? Is when it's just giving. And you may have to ask for what you need at times, but the person's happy to give it to you because you're giving them what they need as well. That's a healthy relationship. And so if that's what you want, then you really do have to do the work to get over this fear of being alone. Because if you don't, You're always going to find yourself stuck in relationships where you're being mistreated, you're being taken advantage of, and where the relationship really doesn't serve you or where it is that you want and need to be in life. Okay? So I hope this information was helpful to you. As I mentioned, I work with women who struggle with those feelings of unworthiness or even, being unlovable. If you yourself would like to talk to me one-on-one, you're welcome to schedule a free 2-hour powerful coaching session with me. I'll put the link below in the description for this video. And if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, follow, share, and I look forward to seeing you here. All right? You take care, and thank you for watching if you're watching live, and thank you for watching if you're watching the replay.